Today we are honored to have an IEEE Photonics Distinguished Lecturer, Professor Sheng-Lung Huang, present his talk titled Deep Learning Empowered Optical Coherence Tomography. Dr. Huang received his PhD in electrical engineering at the University of Maryland. He is a distinguished professor at the Graduate Institute of Photonics and Optoelectronics and the Department of Electrical Engineering at National Taiwan University. Dr. Huang's research focuses on developing cellular resolution optical coherence tomography for clinical diagnosis of disease such as cancer. Today we will learn how deep learning can enable this imaging to improve on state-of-the-art techniques for better diagnosis and treatment of disease. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Professor Sheng-Lung Huang.
Okay, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this session. First of all, I just thank Kevin for the introduction and for organizing this program. Yeah, it's very nice to know that even though here you have very active optics team here. Yeah, and for this talk, I think I should also thank IEEE Photonics Society for sponsoring my trip here. Yeah. And so, as Kevin mentioned, so this talk is about optical coherence tomography. It has been invented for more than 30 years. So right now, it is widely deployed worldwide in hospitals and medical centers. And at the Illinois here, you have very strong OCT program and made a very significant contribution and innovations. So it's a very it's really my pleasure to come here to share with you our recent work and to exchange our ideas for the future directions. And for the audience here, you are not quite familiar with OCT, I will also give a very brief introduction and tell you the recent, the present status and the future trend, and share with you my thought how we apply the AI to empower OCT for clinical diagnosis. So I'm Sheng-Lung Huang, and these are my collaborators. I have a collaboration with our university hospital, NTU Hospital, and this is McKay Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. This is McKay Memorial Hospital. This is Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. And because for clinical trial, you need a system that satisfies all the regulations and the qualities. So I established a company 9 years ago. So they made a prototype, and so we can use it in the hospital. And this AI NTU is our university center. It's very resourceful for the high performance computation. So for the deep learning kind of algorithms. Okay. And so for the audience, if you are not familiar with Taiwan, I will give you a very brief introduction about the photonics in Taiwan. So this is apparently this is the island, and the number here represent the number of universities in each of these cities. So overall, in Taiwan right now we have 160 universities. So among these 160 universities, we have 35 of them that have dedicated photonics, either college or department or graduate institute. So this is kind of quite unusual. Why? I think one reason is that in Taiwan right now, we have a very active photonics industry, such as LCD display, solid-state lighting, and some optical communications. So right now, so according to, I got this table from Optical last year. So this is shows the worldwide optics and the photonics production market share. So even though Taiwan is a small island, so we cover more than 10% of the worldwide market share. Yeah, I think one reason is because I think these days people know that in Taiwan we have TSMC. Okay, but we have more than TSMC. For example, the company Lagang here. Maybe you never heard about the company Lagang, but I believe many of your cell phone, you have very compact lens for the camera. For this camera, there are maybe 6 to 8 lenses. I think for Lagang, the market share worldwide, I believe is more than 50%. Yeah, so it's highly likely for your cell phone to use Lagang's lens. and also the Acer, Asus, and Wistron. These are companies for making the notebooks. Yeah. So several other companies, so from the biomedical components, devices, and from mobile healthcare, and even to smart hospital solutions. So in case you are interested in forming a kind of startup company, you can find people to the foundry service or make the prototype for you in Taiwan. It's very convenient. Okay, so let me go back to my topic. So this is the outline of my talk. I will first give a very brief overview about how AI was used on biomedical imaging, and then I will show you how we use the AI algorithms on our OCT imagings. And finally, this is kind of, in my personal perspective, one of the holy grail of OCT, because right now worldwide, in case you have a certain tumor, you need a excisional biopsy. But for OCT, because it's non-invasive, so in case in the future, in case OCT imaging is good enough for the physicians or clinicians to make a diagnosis, then probably you can reduce the number of excisional biopsy in the future. Okay. So apparently AI is not something new, because starting from year 1950, 70 years ago, people talk about AI, but very recently people start to talk about deep learning. The reason is that if you look at this figure on the horizontal axis is the amount of data. So apparently in case you have a larger data, then you should have a better performance. But in case you use the machine learning algorithm, so when the data is very big, then the performance kind of saturated. But in case you use the deep learning algorithm, you can keep on improving the performance in a linear trend. So this is something very good for biomedical imaging, because usually for biomedical imaging modality, you can acquire data very fast. For example, for OCT, it's very easily you can acquire more than 1 gigabyte of data in 1 second. So it's really a very big data. So it's a kind of a perfect match with deep learning, because with the larger data, you can have a linear improvement on the performance. So these days, worldwide, so in all the biomedical areas, the breast cancer, abdomen, or many cardiovascular applications, if you look at the number of applications, all of them kind of exponential growth. That means deep learning really works for the biomedical imaging. And specifically, if you look at the applications, people mainly focus on pathology and the brain. The brain actually is related to nerve, the central nerve system. So, and for pathology, usually people care about the resolution. You want to see the detail of human tissues, the nuclei, the density of the nuclei, the shape of the nuclei, and whether the nuclei is have a smooth boundary or very rough boundary. You need a high resolution. Okay. So to using the AI on biomedical imaging, right now at least there's one very successful case. DeepMind is a company established in the United Kingdom, but it was acquired by Google I think almost 10 years ago. So right now they do have a kind of OCT integrated AI system that which is approved by FDA. So right now it's really on the market. So you can see here, this is the raw OCT imaging, kind of black and white. So this is the physician's annotation. This is the AI prediction. So you can see that the segmentation and prediction is quite accurate. And using the AI algorithm, it can also help you to find out this kind of imaging, where is the hotspot for the physicians they should focus on. Yeah. So really, right now really there's a successful story to integrate OCT with AI. Okay, so for the audience that are not familiar with OCT, I will give you a very quick introduction. So basically the idea is very simple. For example, this is your device on the test. This is the skin. Okay, so you use an incident light, you try to detect the backscatter light. Okay, the backscatter light from the surface of the sample actually is very strong, but the backscatter light from deep into the tissue actually is very weak. So you need a very sensitive detection scheme. So the detection scheme here, actually, I think for the student here, you should be very familiar with this kind of scheme. This is just a typical Michelson interferometer. The only difference is that The light source, usually for microscope infrared, use a narrow beamwidth laser, but for OCT, actually you prefer a broadband light source. And the broader the bandwidth, the better the resolution you can have. So remember I mentioned, because for the signal deep into the tissue, the backscatter light is very weak. And so this kind of microscope interferometer, actually in a sense, it's just like the homodie detection in an optical communication system. So you know that for homodie detection, it's very sensitive. Yeah. So so in case whenever the light penetrates into the device on the test, you see a kind of index change, you'll see a spike. Okay. So in case you have a one-dimensional scan on the sample, or you scan your beam, you can see a two-dimensional imaging. Or in case you have a two-dimensional scan on the sample, or you use a two-dimensional camera as the detector, you can have a three-dimensional imaging. So this one is a human histopathological. The video, the time represents the depth of the histopathological. So because this OCT technology is very fast, so in the one hand you can acquire this kind of 3D imaging, just maybe 30 seconds you can have this 3D tomography. You can also use this kind of the temporal response to add a color on your imaging. For example, for the 2D imaging, if you use for example, Fourier transform, you can find out what's the temporal response. Okay, then you can use the frequency range to add colors. You can have a kind of pseudo color on the 2D images. Okay. So right now, the OCT system technology is advanced very fast. I believe right now worldwide, 1 year ago I heard that there are about 100 OCT companies. But I believe right now it should be much more, because I just visited India 2 months ago. People told me in India there are about 25 OCT companies just in India. Okay. So roughly about 80% of the OCT companies right now, they are working on ophthalmology. Okay. For example, you can see this is the human retina. There are about 10 layers. The average layer thickness is about 20 microns. So you don't need a very high resolution. You can resolve all the layers of the retina. So people can use for diabetic retinopathy. Okay. Also for age-related macular degeneration. Yeah. So basically, this is so these days people even try to use a longer wavelengths, so you can penetrate deeper than the retina to the choroid layer. So there are blood vessels here. Yeah. So a lot of companies working on ophthalmology. Another very popular application area is cardiology. Okay. So you need a kind of fiber probe. Okay. So to probe into your vessel, for example, the coronary vessel, so you can have this kind of 3D imagings. Okay, so it can be used to detect the vulnerable plaque, or in case you have an installed stent within the coronary vessel, you can use the OCT to check whether the stent is well positioned. Yeah. Okay. So as I mentioned, OCT was invented 30 years ago by Professor James Fujimoto at MIT. So the application area starting from the ophthalmology and the cardiovascular imaging. So in the early days, people mainly care about the imaging speed, because for biomedical application, because your patient, they will move, your eye may blink, so you need a very fast imaging speed. Recently, people not just care about the imaging speed of OCT, people start to care about the resolution, because you want to see the details. For example, you want to see the cell, you want to see the nuclei, because for many diseases, for example, for cancer, you can get more detailed information about the cell, then you can make a diagnosis. So in either the ophthalmology, you can see the number of applications is growing very fast in the cardiovascular application and the neurology, and the dermatology and the gastroenterology. Okay, so in all the area. So if you look at the market by application, so apparently the ophthalmology occupies the largest pie, and the second one is cardiovascular application. So this means that our publication really works, right? If you have more publication, you have kind of a larger market size. Okay, all right. So this is pretty much the present status of the OCT. Now let me show you some of our recent works about cellular resolution OCT. So this video shows the end phase. End phase means that all this two-dimensional imaging is kind of in parallel to the surface. So at different time, it probe into the different depths. So this is a cross-sectional. That means at different time you have different lateral movement. Okay. So you see those black holes. Actually, they are the nuclei of the within the skin. You can see the layer structure. And because OCT is something very fast, so you can see even this red blood cell is flowing in the microvascular. And one very nice thing for OCT is that not just that it can give you a very high resolution, also the power actually is very low. It's typically just less than 3 milliwatt. You know, for this red point, typically the CW power for red point is more than 5 milliwatt. So it's even higher than OCT. So you can imagine. In general, OCT is a technology that's very safe. Yeah. Okay, so you can apply on the human skin. Apparently, you can also apply on the cornea. Okay, so this is in vivo rapid imaging. This is the superficial layer of the cornea. This is the wing layer. This is the basal layer, and these are the Bowman layer. And you can see. I don't know whether you can see some dendritic structure. That's what we call subbasal nerve. Okay, so from the OCT, you can see the layer structure, you can see the nerve structure. Actually, these days, there are many people, there's evidence that the density of the nerve, the tortuosity of the nerve are closely related to many diseases. For example, the Parkinson's diseases, type 2 diabetes. If you have this kind of quantitative information from this nerve, it's very helpful to have early diagnosis of the diseases. And for OCT, it can give you a high resolution structural information. You can also have very broadband information from OCT because remember the light source for OCT is a broadband light source. So at different depths of the sample, you can detect the backscattered spectrum. So from this spectral, you can probe. For example, there are many pigments in our human body, such as melanin, hematoxylin, melanin, and several other pigments in the human skin. So you can also get this kind of information from the OCT. And remember, I mentioned for our OCT is kind of cellular resolution, so we do have a number of experiments to verify. So this is a kind of in vitro study. So for the same cell, we use the OCT to scan, so you can see the image at different depths. Then we use the confocal microscopy to do the same cell, so you can compare, so you know that how to interpret this kind of black and white OCT imagings. And we also have an ex vivo experiment to verify. So on the left-hand side, you see these two are apparently the HE scan imaging. So all the physicians and clinicians, they are very familiar with this kind of purple and pink colors, because for the purple usually you represent the nuclei. But for the OCT, even though you have high resolution, but this is black and white, so usually it's not quite easy to be recognized by physicians. But if you compare the details, for example, here's a hair follicle, here by the HE, this is OCT, this is a fat cell. Okay, so you can see that really for the OCT system, there's a kind of cellular resolution. So once you make sure you have the cell information, so you can apply the AI, so you can segment out the nuclei. So I think a few years ago, we used the machine learning technique algorithm to segment out the nuclei from in vivo human skin. But the only issue is that because we use the machine learning, so it's very slow. So to segment this image, it took us about 10 hours. So very recently, we tried to use a deep learning algorithm. Hopefully, we can do this in real time to segment out this. Okay, so in the future, I think because right now, the health expenditure worldwide is escalating very fast. So this is the data in the United States. You can see that over the years, the national health expenditure as a ratio of the GDP is kind of increasing. So you see the cost is $4.6 trillion US. It's kind of infinity. I think for OCT, I believe in the future is a technology that could be able to solve this problem, because really it costs too much money worldwide for the human health expenditure because for many diseases, in case you can detect it in the early stage, it may be very easy to be cured. But in case in the late stage, even though you spend a lot of money, it may not be helpful. For example, many of the audience here, you wear the glasses, okay? The reason you wear glasses is because one day you feel that you cannot see something clear, so you go to the hospital and the physician suggests you need to wear a glass. But in case you can know that there's something wrong in your eye in the early stage, then probably you just take more rest, or when you're reading something, you have a stronger light. You don't need to wear glasses. Because for many diseases, the severity of diseases for the functional of the structure information actually is a better kind of indicator for functional abnormal. Okay, because for functional change is kind of a broad change. Okay, so for structure change usually it's kind of a more linear. Because for OCT you can detect the structure change. So even for the function, it seems like still something working well, but structurally speaking, it starts to change. So OCT has high chance to do things in the early stage. Okay. So as I mentioned, because for OCT with a high resolution, you can know that, for example, whether a cell is in necrosis or apoptosis status, or what is the cellular resolution, or what is the cellular interaction by the high resolution OCT. So remember, OCT, we have a very broadband light sources, so you can also have a spectroscopy information. Because OCT is very fast, so you can also have dynamic information. So from this information, you may be able to find out what's the activation pathway or the system coordination. So in the future, if you combine this structure and the dynamic and the spectroscopy information with the AI, you could be able to have early disease diagnosis, so we can reduce the healthcare expenditure. Okay, so that's a very brief overview. Now let me show you how we use the deep learning on the cellular resolution. We start from an animal model. Okay, so we collaborate with our university hospital. We just apply some chemicals on the back skin, on the back of the mouse. So after 1 week or 2 weeks, you can see that something changed on the back of the mouse. We call this dysplasia. Usually after maybe 6 or 7 weeks, you start to grow the squamous cell carcinoma. Okay, you see these tumors. It's kind of a malignant tumor. Okay, so for each of the imaging, with the sample, we use the OCT to acquire the imaging, and we also have a biopsy, so we can have this kind of H&E stain imaging. This is served as the ground truth. Okay, this kind of annotation of the ground truth. So you can see that we can have a very big data set. So for this one, we have accumulate 1.45 terabyte of data. Actually, right now we already upload the data to an image repository, IDR. So in case you are interested to play with the data, you can just download from this link. Okay. So basically, with this big data, we try to. The first thing we want to do is that we want to classify whether using OCT you can classify whether the imaging is associated with a normal skin or with a dysplasia skin or with a SCC skin. Okay. So as you can see here, we can achieve more than 90% of accuracy. Okay. Then when we discuss with the physician, so the physician say, well, whether such a high accuracy is related to high resolution. He don't think that high resolution can help. So we purposely try to reduce the resolution of our imaging. So what we did was to do a downsampling. So when you do the downsampling on your imaging, that means you reduce the resolution. You can see that the accuracy just start to decrease. Okay, then the physician, they are convinced that you do need a high resolution so you can have a high accuracy. Okay. Then another issue for the AI is that even though the AI can give you a pretty good result, but people still feel that the AI is kind of a black box. You don't know what's going on within those metrics and data. Okay. Fortunately, these days, many people, they try to develop some tools so you can visualize, okay, the AI algorithm. So for this case, we use an algorithm called GradCam. As you can see here, remember we have 3 different kind of imaging classes. One is a normal skin, is a dysplasia skin, is SE skin. Okay. And for this colorful imaging, this is the result by the GradCam algorithm. these are the heat map. Okay, so the brighter the spot means that for those pixels, they play a larger role for the AI to make a decision. Okay, so you can see here, the heat map 1 is the AI is focused on some smaller features. For heat map 2, 3, and 4 is focused on larger features. Okay, so within a human skin, the small feature actually is related to the nuclei. So as you can see here, all the bright spot here match very well with the black hole here. The black hole here is the nuclei. So which means that for this cellular information plays an important role for the AI to make a decision whether the imaging is a normal or dysplasia or SCC. And for larger features, you can see here this bright band here actually is correspond to the dermal-epidermal junction. Okay, so this is dermal-epidermal junction here, and this is stratum cornea. Okay, so either the small feature or the large feature, actually the logic for the AI to make a decision is very similar to a physician, because when we ask a physician how you try to make a decision whether this is a normal or SCC, they start from looking at, try to find out where is the DJ, the dermal-epidermal junction. Then they try to find out, look at the nuclei to see where's the nuclei density, the size, the ratio, the shape. Okay, so for the AI, it's very similar. They care about the DJ, care about the nuclei. Okay, so this gives the physician some confidence about the AI, not just give you a good result, also it's kind of explainable. Okay. Then later on we have a collaboration with MSKCC, because MSKCC, there are many histopathologists over there, so they use our system to scan for the skin cancer patient. So for each of the patient, they make a scan on the OCT, and also because it's a skin cancer patient, they also have a biopsy. So they have a stain imaging, so they can compare the stain imaging with OCT, so they can try to learn how to interpret this kind of black and white OCT. Because right now at MSKCC, they have a lot of skin cancer patients. So right now in the United States, there's a surgery called Mohs surgery. Okay, this is something quite famous in the United States because in the States each year there are, I think roughly there are about 2.5 million new instances of skin cancer. Okay, so when you have a skin cancer, in the one hand, if the physician is able to do incisional biopsy, you can clearly remove all the malignant cells. But in case the tumor is on the face, so you also want to reduce the amount of incisional biopsy. So the best solution is that if you can accurately determine where's the boundary of the malignant tumor and the benign tumor. Okay, so using OCT, you can try to see whether we can determine where's the boundary. So for the most surgery, the idea is that because you want to reduce the amount of the tissue removal from your skin, so they just each time they just make a cut of a thin slice. Okay, so after the slice, then the patient will just lay down on the bench and waiting for, because for each of the slice, then you need to do the frozen and do the stain. Usually take about 1 hour. So the patient will sit on the bench for 1 hour waiting for the result, whether the whole malignant tumor is removed. In case yes, then he can go back home. In case not, just have a second slice. Okay. So in case using OCT, you can you don't need to wait for the 1 hour after each slide. You can immediately make a diagnosis. Then it will be very beneficial for the patient and for the physician and for the hospital. Okay. So this is the idea of the clinical trial. So for each of the sample, we have both the OCT and this stain imaging. So the pathologists, they can help to segment out, the basal cell carcinoma boundary, the hair follicle, the sebaceous gland, and even the mucin. Also, from this imaging, we can learn how to segment out from the OCT, so we can train the AI algorithm. Okay. Because it's very expensive to do a clinical trial in the United States. So for this experiment, we only have 23 imagings. Okay, so these are the kind of the annotation, or we call this the ground truth. Okay, so we have different colors represent the different tissues. So for each of this patient, actually the image is pretty large. This is about 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter with 1 micron resolution. Okay, so still a pretty, not a very small data set. Okay, so for such a 20 patient trial, as you can see, this is in our test set. Okay, so these are the input OCT imagings, and these are the annotation, and this is AI result. You can see that the yellow color is true positive. Okay, so you can see the CNN result is compared to the annotation is reasonably well. And if you want to have a quantitative assessment, you can see for the basal cell carcinoma detection, the sensitivity is more than 90%. The specificity is a little bit lower, it's more than 80%. But remember I mentioned for deep learning, the larger the data set, you can expect the better the performance. Because for this trial, it's only 20 patients. So in case you have 100, 1,000, supposedly we should be able to have a better result in the future. But for the most surgery, still it's a kind of ex vivo application. So the true, I think, advantage for OCT is in vivo, because for OCT, the amount of optical power used is very low, so it's very safe. So actually, so the company I established 10 years ago, right now they have an in vivo system, so you can just acquire the skin data. You can find out where is the dermal-epidermal junction, where is the certain cornean, where is the certain granulosin, certain spinosum, and find out where is the microcapillary, small vessel. So for this kind of black and white imaging, even for physicians, in case they are not familiar with OCT, they cannot tell. Okay, only when they look at this kind of imaging for long, they know how to recognize, how to read this kind of black and white imagings. Okay. So right now for this system, it was approved by FDA, and also in Taiwan, we also have a Taiwan FDA. Okay. Yeah. So right now we start to have some clinical trials in Taiwan. Right now we have a collaboration with about 10 hospitals and medical centers, and worldwide. Right now we have a collaboration with the first one is MSKCC in New York. Also we have one system in Berlin, and then we have 2 systems in Beijing right now for the clinical trial. So because we start to this kind of in vivo application, so remember even for physicians, because for physicians usually when they were a medical student, they are very familiar with the edge stain. Okay, but OCT is kind of a new technology, so we try to create something like a textbook. Okay, we call this atlas. Okay, so for each of the patient we include, we take 4 images. One is the edge stain, one is OCT, one is the typical clinical imaging, which is just like use a cell phone to take a picture on the lesion. And this is dermoscope. Dermoscope is very similar to clinical imaging, just you can see a little bit deeper with higher resolution. Okay, and you can so that one, this is for the cancer. Actually, we have this clinical trial. We recruit about 400 patients in Taiwan. So only about 5 to 10 patients that really have basal cell carcinoma. So in Taiwan, this is really not something popular. And for this EMPD, it's also a malignant tumor. So we have several patients, so we collect this kind of data. Okay, and we also have some collaboration with aesthetic medicine doctors. For example, these days, you heard about people use the picosecond laser, femtosecond laser on your face to, for example, you can remove the nevus, or you can try to stimulate the collagen. When you use the picosecond laser or femtosecond laser, usually the physician, they don't know, you can generate holes beneath your skin. We call this laser-induced optical breakdown. Okay, so without the OCT, you have no idea what's the depth of these holes, because it depends on the wavelengths you use. The depth of this hole is different. Okay, and depends on the power you use. The size of this breakdown is different. So with the OCT, you can identify what's the best wavelength, what's the best optimized optical power to generate this kind of laser-induced breakdown. Yeah. So right now we remember we have a clinical trial for about 200 patients. So within these 200 patients, there are about 20 different diseases. So we make an atlas, so that for each of the patients, we collect all the 4 imagings. Yeah. So actually we have a PDF file for this atlas. So in case you're interested in OCT, I can send you a copy so that you know how all these different skin-related diseases, how what is the HE stain, what is OCT, what is the clinical imaging, and fluoroscope. Okay. Yeah. So based on this clinical trial data, so we try to apply the deep learning to extract more information. So remember, about 4 to 5 years ago, we used the machine learning. We can segment out the nuclei, but it's very slow. So right now, we try to use the deep learning algorithm to see whether we can segment out the nuclei faster. So for this algorithm, actually, we use a very popular network called unmet. Okay. Right now, unmet is a very successful segmentation algorithm. But the difference in here is that because for our OCT imaging, remember within this OCT imaging, we have some feature that's very small. For example, the nuclei. We also have some feature which is very big. For example, the dermal-epidermal junction. So when we train the unmet, we develop a so-called deep feature sharing, which means that we have a new loss function. For this loss function, we care about both the small features and large features. So using this algorithm, so right now we can segment out the DJ, the certain cornea, and the nuclei. So as you can see here, these are some typical input of the OCT. So the annotation is here, the annotation by the physicians, and this is the prediction by the CNN. If you compare these two qualitatively, it matches reasonably well. And you can also have a quantitative assessment of this segmentation. So for the nuclei, we use the IOU as the metric. This intersection over linear. Okay, so for the nuclei is about 72%. For the DJ, it's almost 90%. Yeah. So apparently you can apply this network for 3D segmentation. So once you have this information, so you within each imaging, you can have a lot of, usually roughly about 100 nuclei. So you can have a lot of different kind of statistics about the density and the shape of the, for example, the nuclei. Sometimes it will look like a sphere, sometimes it's more elliptical. So you can have all these kind of statistical information. Okay. Also at different human locations, you can see that all the parameters are different. Okay. So that's about the second part of my talk. And finally, I want to show you our recent work on how we try to translate the OCT into the colorful H&E stain imaging. We call this virtual biopsy, so which all you can see is optical biopsy, which means there's no really excisional biopsy. Okay, because for HE is something really very important because for many diseases, for example, for cancer, the HE stain imaging is kind of the gold standard. Okay, yeah, and because for the HE stain imaging, you have the color specificity, different color represent different things. But for OCT, even though you have high resolution, but this is black and white. So how can you? So in case you can translate this kind of black and white imaging into this colorful imaging, that'd be very helpful for the physicians to read this kind of black and white images. Fortunately, right now worldwide there are many algorithms that people have developed to translate the imaging. For example, you can translate a painting with one style to another style. Okay, or for example, for a photo, this is a photo of a winter. You translate into a summer. Okay, but the difference is that for this kind of image translation, it's kind of artwork. Okay, so you don't care about accuracy. Okay, it just when you translate the winter to summer, right? You don't care about accuracy. But if you want to translate OCT into HE, this is something you really care about accuracy. If the accuracy is low, it may cost humans' life. Okay, so we try to so based on this existing algorithm, we try to add in physicians' knowledge so that when you do the translation, you can have a better accuracy. Okay, so right now for the image translation, there's a very famous algorithm called CycleGAN. I don't know whether you heard about CycleGAN. So basically, you have two data sets. This is one data set for OCT. This is another data set called HE. Okay. So these two data sets actually they are independent. They are not paired data because it's almost impossible. You can have a paired data of the OCT and HE. Okay, so the nice thing for cycle gain is that it's not a pair data. Okay, so start from the OCT, you can translate the OCT into called this converted HE. Apparently, start from beginning, this is a wrong HE. Okay, but you can convert this HE to OCT again. We'll call this reconstructed OCT. So in case all the conversion is correct, so you can imagine this reconstructed OCT should be the same as the original OCT. Similarly for HE, you can convert HE to OCT. From this OCT, you convert it to we call this reconstructed HE. So if everything is correct, then this HE should be the same as this original HE. Okay. So this is the typical cycle gain. So based on this cycle gain, we try to add in physicians' knowledge. For example, remember we can segment out the dermal-epidermal junction, and we can segment out the nuclei. So we ask the physicians to help us to label the nuclei and the DEJ. Okay, so make a loss function of this OCT and this converted HE. So in case this conversion is close to true, these two got to have the same DEJ and got to have the same nuclei location. Similarly for HE. Okay, so let me show the preliminary result. So these are the input black and white OCT. This is translated HE. Okay, so if you look at the DEJ, which I use the green line, the DEJ matches very well, and also the nuclei location matches very well. You can have a quantitative assessment. So if you only use the cycle gain, the error usually you can see that. So this is pretty large. But using our algorithm with the physician's annotation, so for example, for the DEJ, the error is only about 1.6 micron, which is much smaller than 1 cell. Okay, so this is reasonably good. And this is the IOU, is about 90%. We also use the Pearson coefficient. Okay, so you can see that. So it seems to me this kind of image translation, at least for the DEJ and for the nuclei, it seems it works. Okay. But within the human skin, you can imagine there's so many different things, right? So not just the DEJ, the nuclei, you have melanin, you could have microcirculation, you have all kinds of different cells, and eventually we hope that this kind of image translation can be used for the tumor boundary segmentation. So I think start from beginning right now, if we adding the physician knowledge on this, so in the future, in case we're adding more information, so I believe this kind of image translation is really, there's a possibility to make this work. But the only issue is that, remember, for deep learning, you need a big data. And for this algorithm, you need a physician to label for you. So in case you have a collaborator with a physician, you're asking, well, I have 20 images. Can you label for me? Most likely they will say yes. But if you tell them I have 1,000 images, can you label for me? Well, probably they won't be agreed. Okay. So when we develop this kind of AI algorithm, you got to think about how you can reduce the amount of time that the physician need to help you. Okay. So very recently, we also try to develop an unsupervised OCT to HE translation. So for this algorithm, you don't need any physician's knowledge. Okay. So I think this algorithm can serve as a kind of a pre-training. Okay. So once you use this kind of unsupervised to pre-train your network, then later on you can use a small amount of data with the physician knowledge to fine-tune your network. Okay. So this unsupervised translation is something very interesting. Remember, we have two data sets. One is the HE data set, one is OCT data set. Okay. So right now we don't have any segmentation, but we'll try to add in some noise. Because, for example, starting from OCT, you can see that if you compare the OCT imaging with HE, the HE usually look like the kind of high quality imaging. But OCT is well known that there are speckle noise. Okay, so when you do the image translation, you don't want the network to spend a lot of effort to focus on the noise. Okay, so you try to purposely add in some noise. Okay, so you can mitigate the OCT speckle noise impact. Okay. Then from this HE to the OCT, you can add in some noise because for this kind of usually people found that with a small change on the HE, then the output may change a lot. So if you add in some noise, you can defend this. People call this adversarial attack. Okay. Also from here to here, we're adding noise because see, it's not it doesn't make sense if you translate a high quality imaging to a low quality imaging. So you can add in a noise here so that the network can focus on the important features. Okay, so also for this part we added noise. Okay, so we're adding 4 different noises. Okay, so that to force the network to learn something important and ignore the noise. And this is the outcome. Okay, so this without any physician's knowledge. Okay, so we have an input OCT, and this is a translated HE. Okay, so you can see that even though it's not the accuracy may not be very high, but at least it looks reasonably well. So this can serve as a kind of pre-training. And also for this algorithm, it's pretty well good for bidirectional translation. You can also translate the OCT, HE back into OCT. You may ask why people need to do this, because for HE, the physicians already can read everything he needs. Why you want to also translate HE back to OCT? Because for within each OCT, right now we can recognize the DEJ, the dermal-epidermal junction. We can recognize where is the nuclei. But actually, within this image, there are many other things. There are, for example, many spatial cells. For example, the Merkel cells, the ganglion cells, okay, even nerves. Okay, those information right now, even myself, we cannot recognize. But if we, but those information from the HE stem, it's very easy. The physician can recognize. So if you can translate the HE back into the OCT, so maybe it can help us in the future try to read those spatial cells. Okay, so using our algorithm, we have a benchmark with many different algorithms. We call our algorithm the signal-to-noise scan. Okay, so we use the FID and the KID as the metrics. So for these 2 metrics, the smaller the better. Okay, so you can see that using our algorithm, we have better result compared to other algorithm. Yeah. So we just published this result this year. Okay. So seems to me deep learning is something really useful for applied biomedical imaging. We know that these days for AI it generates a lot of public interest. People care about AI. People also worry about AI. So people ask that whether your AI is kind of trustworthy, whether your AI is responsible, whether your AI is ethical, whether your AI really is beneficial. Okay, so you can see that the core idea behind these questions is that whether your AI is fair, whether your AI is explainable. So whether your AI is fair, it takes cares about whether you can protect the privacy of your patient. Okay, whether you don't have any racial discrimination. But this kind of issue can be solved by the IRB, because for any clinical trial, you do need the IRB to review the trial. Okay, so that kind of thing, even though it's very difficult to make a judgment, but can be solved by the IRB. But for explainable AI, it really is kind of issue how the data scientists, you can communicate with the public to convince people that your AI is really reasonable. So fortunately, these days, there are many kind of algorithms that people develop, try to help people to understand what this kind of black box really doing, to give you results. Okay. So remember, I already showed you one example. I showed the heat map, right? The heat map is kind of only a region that show you where is the hot spot, but there are many algorithms that can help people to explain the result. For example, recently we tried the so-called Shapley parameter. So from each of our images, we try to extract some features. For example, from the human skin, you can find out what is the average cell size. This is something important related to diseases. Or what is standard deviation of the nuclear area? What is the average length of your DEJ? What's the amount of melanin? What's the thickness of your certain cornea? And so we try to extract many different parameters. Okay, because these parameters may be related to whether imaging is a cancer or not, whether it's some diseases or not. Okay, so right now, because in Taiwan, remember I mentioned we have collected about 200 patients. Among these 200 patients, there are only about 5 patients that have skin cancer, so the amount of data too small. But for eczema, for some reason in Taiwan we have a lot of patients. We have more than 80 patients. So we use eczema as an example to see whether we can explain why the AI can give you a correct diagnosis. Okay, so for example, using the shot, we know that in case of patient you have eczema, okay, so apparently you should have a very thick epidermis, okay, and also the nuclei area, the standard deviation should be high, okay. So based on the 8 features I just mentioned to you, so we can train the network to see which one are important, which one are not. Okay, so a second show you here there are 4 examples from these are from 4 patients, okay, with eczema. The first 3 imaging, the AI gives a correct diagnosis. The AI found that this imaging comes from eczema patient. Why it gives you a correct answer? Because for the AI, it really diagnoses that the patient have a very thick epidermis, okay, for all the 3 patients. For the fourth one, even though the patient is still eczema, but the AI gives a wrong diagnosis. The reason the AI gives a wrong diagnosis is because the AI cannot diagnose cannot find out the correct epidermis thickness. Okay, so at least using this approach, people can know what are the factors that affect the AI to make a decision. Okay, so including those the heat map. Okay, I hope that in the future, so people don't need to fear about AI. They can understand how the AI make a decision. Okay, so with this, I would like to conclude my talk. What's the time? Yeah, okay. So I hope that I can show you that with the serial resolution OCT, you can review the nuclei morphology and some layer structure in real time, and also using the deep learning algorithm, you can segment out the very important features, and also you can translate the gray label OCT into the colorful super color stain imaging. And I think for the deep learning algorithm, this serial resolution OCT is really explainable, and it can be linked to other imagings for diagnosis. So for my work, I need to acknowledge my collaborators on the OCT light sources, on the AI, and the product of the company, and also my collaborators of the companies, of the hospitals. Yeah, thank you for your attention. Thank you.
All right, so we can have questions. Yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful talk. This might be a dumb question because I'm not from a computer science field, but as I think your technology actually have a benefits, like a strength over the HE staining because you have like a 3D resolution. And one of the feature of cancer cells is actually have a larger volume of nuclei.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried that to actually take a scan of the tissue and recognize like precisely where the cancer cells would locate? It depends on the nuclei shapes or volumes.
Yeah, actually, remember I showed one example that we have a collaboration with MSKCC. That is an experiment we try to segment out the boundary of the malignant tumor. But I think this. Okay, yeah. So these are annotation of the boundary of the malignant tumor, and the yellow is the true positive predicted by the CNN. Yeah, and I think you mentioned a very important point, because right now for HE stain, it's the gold standard. All the physicians, they know HE, they believe HE, but these days they don't believe OCT. So I think still take a long time for the physicians to really they can accept OCT. But I think for HE stain, you know, let me show one of the HE stain imaging. For the HE stain kind of imaging, even though it's a very high resolution in the lateral direction, but actually for the tissue there's a thickness. Okay, yeah. So typically the thickness may be 4 micron, 10 micron. For some tissue, maybe 1 or 2 micron, but typically it's 4 micron. But for OCT, we have a high resolution in the lateral direction, also in the deep direction. Yeah, so I think even though for the OCT is black and white, but we have more information. We have 3D information. Usually for HE, it's only just a 2D slide. But for OCT, you can have a 3D slide. So I think there's no, in the future, really there's a possibility we can persuade the biomedical field the OCT really can be used for, I don't want to say replace HE, can complement to HE stent, yeah.
Thank you. I think that's pretty important. Oh, I'm sorry.
If I can follow up that question, just to remind us, in OCT, as you've shown, we get depth resolution, and that comes from the bandwidth of your light source. So that's why we want a broad source. But what I'm trying to remember is, as you're scanning in depth, how are you able to extract the spectra as a function of depth?
Oh, because OCT, we call this, there's a kind of optical sectioning. So for the microscope in the front, if you use a laser, you always have interference pattern. But for OCT, because it's a broadband light source, so only when the back reflection from a certain depth match the length of your reference arm, then you have a signal. So we have kind of depth sectioning capability. Yeah.
And then what you do then is then at that point is that spectrum is what you capture.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I was going to say I think in general what you're doing from a high level is you're basically capturing lots of images and trying to see things that the computer can pick up from that in order to diagnose a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to ask you, in terms of diagnosing either eczema or skin cancer, what is your standard scan? Is it like a centimeter? In other words, the image that you use that you're for the diagnosis, is that some standard sample coming from someone's hand or
So right now for the in vivo imaging, we have a prototype, I think, around this slide. Yeah, this one. So basically, the physician, this is the probe. Okay, so when they look at your lesion, so they can decide where to probe. And right now for this function, actually in the future, we are trying to, you can also have a lateral scan, because for each of the field of view, for each imaging is about 500 micron width by a depth of about 400 microns. So for some lesion, this may be too small. So but in case you have some kind of linear stage within, so you can have scan a larger imaging. Yeah, so that depends on kind of diseases. The physician can make a decision how big they want to take.
Okay, so this isn't a question of scanning just hundreds and hundreds of people,
Mm-hmm.
and then those that have skin cancer, then looking for something. This is actually looking at the cancerous regions and then diagnosing that.
Yeah, and try to find out where is the boundary of the malignant and the benign tumor. Where is the boundary? Yeah.
So then I guess projecting into the future, it's just possibly a general sensing technique. That we go to the doctor or our annual checkup and we get an OCT scan.
Mm-hmm.
Is this possible that you could, find these images, find these things in the images early enough that we could use it for prediction?
That's our hope.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. But for biomedical field, it's kind of very conservative. So everything progresses in a very slow pace. For example, right now we have a clinical trial, but it's only for 20 patients. People don't believe the result from 20 patients. You got to show me 2,000, 1,000 patients, then people can start to believe, well, it works. Yeah. Even though you have a 2,000 patient, you have a good result, it doesn't mean that hospital will use it, because these days you got to have the insurance company for reimbursement, right? So starting from, you got to have a system that approved by FDA, then you got to have a small clinical trial, so you can have kind of people call CPT code, because if you want to reimbursement, you got to have a code. Once you have a code, it doesn't mean the insurance company will reimburse. You got to have a large clinical trial. Okay, if they still have a good result, even that case, the insurance company will still they may not reimburse this kind of diagnosis because they want to make sure in case they reimburse for your instrument, they can reduce their cost. Yeah,
Right.
and even for the insurance company, they can reduce cost. The hospital may not want to use because they have the so-called, I think, called HTA, Health Technology Assessment, whether the hospital can make money. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So everything is quite slow. Yeah.
Yep.
So actually, for my company, 10 years ago, when we got our first investment, people believed that we can use for most surgery. But later on, we realized, well, it cannot happen in 10 years, and the new company cannot survive for 10 years. So we changed to an in vivo system, target for other applications. Yeah. So everything's very slowly. Yeah. You know, for my clinical trial, I plan to recruit 2,000 patients in Taiwan. So we write a proposal, submit to the hospital. They review my proposal. They spend 18 months for the IRB to approve this clinical trial. 18 months.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
For the unsupervised imaging translation between OCT and HR and HMD, what is the hidden parameters or hidden correlations that this imaging translation, this unsupervised algorithm is actually optimized?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether our algorithm is optimized or not. So this is the unsupervised. Actually, this work started from my student's idea. At first, because without this 4 added noise, it's just a typical cycle gain. Okay, so in literature, people use the cycle gain. They start to have some reasonable English translation. But with this 4 noises, we just have a better result. And the reason why just a typical cycle gain without any pair data, because this HE and this OCT is not pair data. I think because there are some algorithm works. For example, for this HE, after 2 translation, this one has to be the same as this one, right? Similarly for OCT, after you translate from the original one to this reconstructed one, you have the same. Then for the cycle gain, there is also a discriminator here, because it can judge whether you convert this kind of convert a fake HE, whether this is really like a true HE. You can use a discriminator. So because of this kind of cycle consistency and this kind of discriminator, they start to build up the relationship between the HE and OCT. Yeah. So I'm not sure whether I know where is the hidden parameter. That part I'm not sure. Yeah. So this is really a black box to me.
I was curious if you have enough data yet to look at lesions on specific parts of the body. The skin, you're probably well aware, is a little different in each area. Does that have any effect on your results?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, like so the skin on your hand is quite different than on your face than on
Oh,
your
yes,
back,
yes,
right?
right,
Do
right.
you have enough data to distinguish these yet, or have you, maybe there is no difference?
No, different a lot. For example, the thickness of your straightened cornea on your face is very thin, but on your foot is very thick. Yeah, so at different locations, quite different. Yeah, but right now for the interesting, for basal cell carcinoma, it's quite frequently it happens on your face. Yeah, but I think you are right. In case that's why people need a big data. You got to have all from different locations. Then you can train the algorithm well, right? Yeah. Yes.
Just wondering for the segmentation data set, how costly it is to obtain the segmentation map? Is it from the clinician, and how large is it, the benchmark, and is it publicly available?
Okay, so answer your last question first. Right now, only for the animal model, we have a data, as I mentioned, we upload to the IDR. Everyone can download. For our clinical trial collaboration with the hospital, because I don't think I have the right to release the data. You got to get approved by the hospital also, right? So in case people are interested in those data sets, I think I can give you some of the data set. I cannot give you the whole data set. Probably is okay, I think. Yeah. Another question you asked is about
how how costly it is to
Oh yeah,
maintain the
actually yeah. So for the annotation, it really costs a lot of time. So usually right now, in our case, we have a CRA. They help to circle out the segment. Then we give the data to the physician. They have they double check the result. Yeah, to have this kind of annotation. Yeah, it really costs a lot of time. Yeah, that's why I mentioned. You got to think about how to reduce the time you need from the physician. It's very important. Yeah, especially in Taiwan, all the physicians, they are very busy. Yeah, because their salary is linearly proportional to the number of patients they take care of. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
yes, please.
You mentioned with the H&E that you can only get 2D images, but with OCT you can get 3D. Can you actually translate a 3D OCT image to a 3D quote-unquote H&E image?
That's exactly right now we are working on. Yes, yes, yeah. There are some, yeah. So I told my student because usually for the annotation on medical imaging, actually even for physicians, they can circle out where's the DJ, where's the nuclei. Actually, it's not very accurate, because for many reasons, okay, it's not accurate. But in case you have a 3D imaging, if you translate your OCT into a HE, you can imagine, so for a 3D imaging, it's composed of 2D from this way or from this way. So in case you have a correct translation from this way or from this way, the result should be the same. I think this is a better ground truth than the annotation. Yeah, so that's something right now we are working on. Yeah, we hope we can have it out. Yeah.
Is there feedback? Alright, so there's